to the Citizens Advisory Council meeting, March 25th, 2021 at 7 p.m. Tonight, we are having a virtual meeting. And I, Rob Sims, chairperson for Citizens Advisory Council. Say it again. Did somebody say something?
I think it was just some feedback, Rob.
Okay. All right, so I hereby call this meeting to order. And again, I want to welcome everyone to tonight's meeting. Do we have someone who wants to lead us in prayer tonight? No volunteers? Okay, well, if everyone will bow their heads. Lord, we want to thank you for bringing us together this evening. We ask that you enter the room, allow all hearts and minds to be of one thought, one conscience. In your son's name we pray, amen. All right. So, hopefully.
No minutes tonight.
I'm sorry?
No minutes tonight.
Okay, Michelle beat me to that one. That was my next question. But I want to take a roll call real quick. I want to make sure we have everyone at the meeting who was on the line. So I'll just go down one by one. We have Jim Bronert.
Yep.
We have Mr. Jerry Mingo.
Here.
We have Clodagh McSweeney. Okay. Jessica.
Here.
All right. Orel.
Here.
And has Mr. Belton come on yet? I don't see a phone number there. I don't think so. Okay. All right. And all right. So moving on the agenda, do we have the consultants group for the Greenway on the line?
Rob, can you hear me?
We can now.
Okay. Ryan, I was just about ready to send you over a message. They're basically saying they're having trouble getting in on that email that we sent out. Ryan?
Okay.
They were saying,
Michelle, is it the Alta Planning, Steve?
yeah, I have gotten two messages, one from one of them and one from Tracy saying they're having trouble trying to get on.
I see them there. I think they just need to be pulled in.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's what I was gonna ask Ryan. Yeah. Ryan, can you go ahead and pull them in? It's gonna be Lee, Tillery, Tracy Pegram, and then people from Auto Consulting. There's one. Hey, Steve.
Hello, how are y'all doing? I could hear you earlier, but I couldn't. I don't think you could hear me.
Yeah, Tracy and he were the two attendees that have been now made panelists.
Steve, are you the only one from your group gonna be here?
That's correct. And
Okay.
I am in.
Hey, I'm on the line now too.
Is Lee coming in, Tracy?
No, he's not. He's not
Okay.
able to make it tonight.
Okay, so we have who we need then.
Yes.
Rob, we have the group that we need. You want me to go ahead and get started with them?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're in for a treat this evening. We have a presentation by the Alta Consultants Group. And this is going to be focused on the Greenway. Ms. Michelle, take it away.
Yeah, I'm gonna let Tracy introduce Steve because she's been working with him and she can introduce herself and then we go from there.
Hey, hi, I'm Tracy Pegram. I'm the Assistant Director for High Point Parks and Recreation. And I recognize a couple faces from a meeting we had earlier this week, but for those who weren't there, thank you for joining us tonight. And we certainly appreciate the opportunity to be here and to talk about our updated Greenway master plan that we're working on. I'm going to let Steve talk about all the details. He is with Alta Planning. We contracted with them as our consultants to lead this, and I'll let him tell you all about the project and where we are and what our next steps are. And hey, Steve.
Hi, Tracy. And hi, everyone. Thank you for your time tonight. I appreciate y'all letting us be here. I have a PowerPoint presentation prepared. Can I go ahead and share my screen here? Looks like I can. Is that all right if I go ahead and do the share screen?
Yes.
All righty. Can y'all see the PowerPoint here and my cursor?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Well, my name is Steve Zimowski. I'm with Alta Planning and Design. I'm a planner with the company, and I've been working closely with the project manager, Jason Reyes. It sounds like some of you here tonight were a part of the meeting that I think was on Monday, so have been introduced to the project already. But I'm going to walk through the process to date, where we've been, and kind of get a little bit of a sneak peek at the draft plan that will be released to the public soon. And don't hesitate to interrupt me if you have any questions during the presentation or after. I should have. Do you guys want me to cap it at a certain time limit here? Do you have a preference? Because I could certainly.
Initially, I think Tracy said you guys would take about 15 minutes, 15 maybe to 20 minutes. So.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'll go through a quick overview of the project and the schedule, the types of outreach that we've done, a little look at the draft recommendations for the Greenway network, and talk about the types of greenways and opportunities and challenges around High Point, the considerations for implementation and next steps in the process here. So to start with the overall plan, purpose, and goals, just like anything we do in the community, we want to have positive outcomes on, connecting our community, health, economy, overall quality of life. This year in particular, of course, with the pandemic, has been a really different year. And what we're seeing with trails over this past year is a big spike in trail usage and outdoor space usage. We're seeing that all over North Carolina and the United States, 2 to 3 times in normal trail usage in some places where we have counters. A lot of times, as you can see in the Guilford County 2019 Community Health Assessment, challenges to improving active living in Guilford County, just simply, knowledge of the physical activity opportunities, maps and wayfinding, those types of things, just lack of facilities, safety issues. Those are common things that we see in communities and working on these types of projects. So expanding connectivity, we know there are some Greenway elements in High Point. Y'all are probably aware of the High Point Greenway and maybe the developing Southwest High Point Greenway. And there are some park trails throughout the city as well. But, finding ways to connect our destinations and neighborhoods and have this be not just part of the recreation system, but also a part of the transportation system. This is a big part of community health, trying to figure out ways that we can be more active and integrating that into our daily lives naturally. It's a way to diversify the economy, access the outdoors, and all these things add up to an overall quality of life that that we seek to achieve. This project kicked off back in late summer. We did a lot of our existing conditions analysis in the fall. We've been working on the draft plan document last few months, and we're towards the end of the process, and there will be a public document available to review soon, and we're going to go through some of the pieces here tonight. Part of our existing conditions analysis, what you'll see in the document, we highlight some of those existing Greenway elements. Of course, the High Point Greenway, that beautiful piece that was recently completed between the Piedmont Environmental Center and Deep River Road. That kind of connects the whole Greenway chunk that goes all the way towards Greensboro, towards downtown Greenway piece. And then the Southwest Heritage Greenway has been developing, and the Southwest Renewal Foundation has been working on implementing a loop down in the southern part of town. And so those are some of the key pieces of the network that are currently existing. Now, past planning efforts, the first Greenway plan that High Point did was a little over a decade ago. There have been several other regional plans and plans that are related to transportation that have had Greenway elements in them. And so there are corridors that have been identified in past plans. And so we had some good foundational elements to start with and looking for opportunities and challenges for Greenway connectivity around High Point. Certainly destination connectivity, your schools, your parks, your commercial centers are important elements to consider in Greenway master planning. Equity indicators, this map overlaid census data that we have access to, things such as this map's poverty levels, 200 folks that are 200% at or 200 or below 200% the poverty level, households that have no access to a vehicle, minority groups, age, folks that are under 18 or over 64, 65, that those populations drive less. And English as a second language. Those are all overlaid on that map. Land use maps, looking where the commercial corridors are, looking where destination nodes, all of these are factors that inform the master planning process. In the public outreach process, I think it sounds like some of you have been part of this process already earlier this week and maybe even previously in the planning, the previous planning stages, but there have been, the city of High Point has helped to get the word out through social media, through Facebook ads, the Parks and Recreation's Notify Me subscription service, lots of emails in that group, community partners. Tracy's helped lead a lot of these efforts. So a lot of folks have been contacted throughout this process. Certainly media and press releases, yard signs up and down the Greenway, large apartment buildings and churches. We also have a partner in this process, another consultant that's been helping to lead some of the outreach efforts called P3, Public Participation Partners. In the document, you'll see summaries of the engagement that happened, highlights of the feedback that was received, regarding, we had virtual public workshops. Some of the questions that were asked including the idea of using greenways for transportation or recreation purposes, and how people view, what are some of the key goals of the Greenway system, key elements to connect throughout High Point. So we, our next steps in the outreach process, there was a presentation to the neighborhood leaders earlier in the week. Tonight, of course, here we are at the Citizens Advisory Council. The draft plan will be posted online with a comment box in the next few weeks, early April. And there will be a draft plan public webinar as well that will walk through the draft plan, very similar to this presentation here. So any comments and questions about existing conditions and outreach before we get into some of the recommendations? And that's a nice little picture right there of that new Greenway section in public art and gardens along the Southwest Heritage Greenway down near the Recreation Center. Well, getting into the draft recommendations, this is always the fun part, thinking about, how some of these pieces could come together over time. The basic idea too is destination connectivity, our hubs and spokes, our schools, our parks, downtown, the neighborhoods. And there are different, types of trails for different contexts. And so you'll see in the plan document that we highlight what some of those are. This is going to focus mostly on your shared use path Greenway. So this is a shared use path is, typically about 10 to 12 feet, just like the High Point Greenway. Your kind of Greenway spines are going to be those typically paved corridors, ideally away from roadway corridors that are, 10 to 12 feet, have a little bit of extra space for shoulder. A lot of times you'll find these along riparian corridors or some type of open space, sometimes along an old railroad line. There are sections of the proposed Southwest Heritage Greenway that are on old railroad corridors. And then sometimes where these trails run along street roadway corridors. And this is an example right here of a side path. And that's basically the same thing, a shared use path or greenway along a roadway corridor. And the main thing to note here is that on busier roads that have higher traffic volumes and higher speeds, you want to have a greater separation for that to be something that's comfortable for all ages and abilities. And you'll hear that term, all ages and abilities. You know, what we're referring to is we want your average kid, to feel safe out there. And, we know that most people don't want to mix in the roadway with traffic when they're walking or on a bike. And so getting physical separation, appropriately away from roadway corridors is really important in that side pass situation. For roads where the traffic volumes aren't maybe quite as high or a little bit lower and speeds are a little bit lower, you can have a little bit smaller of a buffer space there. In that neighborhood context, of course, even a smaller buffer is okay. There's places where trails go through environmentally sensitive areas, wetlands, where minimal disturbance of the environment is ideal. And so that's where you'll see boardwalk constructed. That new section that's between the Piedmont Environmental Center and Deep River Road has quite a bit of boardwalk through there. It's a very beautiful section. And of course, there's other, smaller trails that maybe there's less demand in that area, or it's, recreational trails like over in the Rich Fork Preserve area where you might have a narrower 3 to 5 foot natural surface trail that's for hiking or mountain biking. But again, this Greenway plan, we're kind of focusing on those main corridors, those typically paved 10 to 12 feet greenways like the High Point Greenway. And here's a map of the overview of the overall network. And basically what you'll see here too is with the High Point Greenway being connected all the way almost up to Greensboro. And then you have the developing High Point Southwest Greenway, which has some funding behind future construction for sections. And there are pieces that are done already. Two of the biggest pieces of the Greenway system are separated just by a short distance right through the heart of downtown. And so one of the priorities that have been highlighted thus far is how do we connect those pieces from Armstrong Park to the Southwest High Point Greenway south of downtown. And so we'll talk about that more in just a second. But you'll see there's certainly other opportunities around town, from another old railroad spur to the east of the Southwest High Point Heritage Greenway. Some of the creek corridors that connect some of the schools, the Johnson Street Sports Complex. Roadway widening projects are really important opportunities to partner with NCDOT to connect trails along those areas. So there are quite a few opportunities. And of course, connecting City Lake Park to the Piedmont Environmental Center. And for the High Point Greenway to Southwest Heritage Greenway, it's, really unique opportunity because Armstrong Park in the existing section near the Southside Recreation Center and Park isn't that far apart. And just that section right there, if that gets connected, could be a really great Greenway spine that goes all the way, you start to get into the Greensboro Greenway network and it becomes a regional destination. But this piece right here, with the development that's going on along Elm Street's one of those roads that has extra pavement width. There are some real opportunities to bring that Greenway experience right through the heart of downtown, which will, can help spur a lot of Greenway connectivity beyond this section right here. I'll walk through just some of these pieces because they're pieces that we've taken a deeper dive at thus far in this process. This first section of Blaine Street, Montlou, of course, the context changes along these roadway corridors. So there's different challenges along some of them. And there are pieces that we look at quite a bit. Blaine Street, where the Armstrong Park Greenway section ends, that very terminus right there at Blaine, it's a nice neighborhood street. And these corridors, because traffic volumes are so low and traffic speeds are so low, that's one where you have a sidewalk along there. This is a place where most bicyclists, your average all ages and abilities, are going to feel comfortable sharing the roadway in that type of neighborhood context. There's a good example of one in Burlington where they have a downtown greenway that connects to Elon and Elon University. And part of it travels along a neighborhood street that makes that connection. And they have signage, destination signage, they have shared lane markings, they have sidewalks along it. And it's worked really, really well and been a great example. In Durham, where I live, there are some streets that have these neighborhood traffic circles that at these intersections that can help calm traffic even further in those types of situations. And then we get to Montlou Ave, which is, that section of road between Blaine Street towards Elm isn't very long, but to bring that trail experience into downtown, there is a really good opportunity because the travel lanes for the cars are a little bit wider than what is needed. And what that could look like if you use some of that space and create a little bit of buffer, you could have that trail, kind of multi-use trail, bring it from Armstrong Park towards Elm Street. Now, of course, that section is going through some renovation here. These utilities obviously, would need to be moved, and there is a utility project going on. And part of the proposal here is to hopefully have it be a part of that renovation project, or maybe a future phase, depending on funding availability. Of course, there's a lot of moving pieces to implementing a project like that, but those are some of the opportunities and challenges. Then Motley Ave, when you get up towards the library, this is looking west towards Elm Street, and you can see the library right here on the right. This roadway corridor is very wide, and the traffic volumes are very low compared to the current capacity that road offers. It's one of those situations where you can take away a couple lanes and you're not going to affect traffic at all. It's going to operate in a much better manner, and you have lots of great space for a good trail to come right into Elm Street in the downtown area. And so Elm Street, of course, as a lot of you know, has the new ballpark. There's development going along that street. There's utility work going along that street. It's currently a 4-lane cross section, and so there's lots of opportunity to bring that trail experience into downtown. We started to create some images of what that could look like. The new corridor is going to be a 2-lane cross section, and we try to highlight what that trail could look like coming through the ballpark area using the team's colors, and highlighting just getting a feel of what it could look like. And kind of, if you've been up to the Greensboro, some of their new downtown Greenway sections, that's kind of a good idea, or a good local idea of what that could possibly look like. If you're not aware, Greensboro has been developing a downtown Greenway loop. And here's some examples of what that could look like at the ground level. And then getting to the Southwest Heritage Greenway, from Elm Street via Commerce, Jacobs, Green, by the Salvation Army property, this section has been detailed in that previous Southwest Heritage Greenway master plan. So I'm not going to get into the details too much, but this is something that the Southwest Heritage Renewal Foundation has been working on. Of course, that existing section is not too far from downtown and Elm Street, so it's a really good opportunity for some excellent Greenway spine connectivity that you can build off of east and west and throughout the community. And this just gives you a kind of a zoomed out look of what that could look like with the Southwest Heritage Greenway down here to the south, the existing High Point and Bicentennial Greenway to the north of downtown. That first piece, filling the gap. This is, Greenway master plans. This is kind of one of the first things, is filling those key gaps that make those key connections, especially through a commercial center and a dense urban core like we have here in High Point. And then trying to create a loop, trying to, with the Southwest Heritage Greenway and some of the opportunities connecting other parks such as Rich Fork Preserve, the Athletic Center, the Johnson Road Athletic Complex. There's some opportunities to, the Southwest Heritage or the Southwest Guilford schools up here. There's opportunity to create a loop, and there's lots of opportunities beyond that loop that can happen at the same time. Certainly an a downtown loop that connects some of the recreation centers just to the east, the Washington Terrace Recreation Center, another spur to the Southwest High Point Greenway. There's some roads that were built, to accommodate capacity of traffic volumes that just aren't anywhere close to what they need to be today. So there's space to do roadway reconfigurations, and with some of the schools and public park property, you can connect some of those areas too. And so that's kind of the big picture right there. But before we go any further here, any questions? We're getting close to the end of the presentation here, but I start to talk a lot and want to make sure to give a moment if anyone has any thoughts they'd like to share.
Steve, this is Rob Sims. I think it's a great plan. It looks wonderful. I guess one of my biggest questions now is just, what would be the time frame for completion?
And that's a great question, because you're going to make me look good here, because the very next slide talks about implementation and kind of overall time frame, because it's tough. We get very excited talking about these projects, but they take time. They're some of them are more complicated than others for sure, like that Elm Street corridor in particular. But just doing some things such as the existing High Point Greenway, there are certain things that we took a look at with our engineers that need to happen maintenance wise, to make sure that Greenway stays a great facility. There are a couple sections that could use some resurfacing. Wayfinding signage could be a little bit better into the neighborhoods. Doing those things on an annual basis and making sure there's maintenance funding for some of those items are important. But design, there's got to be a design process. From these master plans, there are projects. We'll have, especially the couple high priorities. We'll come up with we'll have our engineers put together cost estimates. What those could look like, and so once funding is selected for a project, there's a design process that that takes place, and that can take a number of years depending on the complexity of the project. But hopefully in the next 3 to 5 years, that connection from Armstrong to the Southwest Heritage Greenway could be completed. But you think about that, it's 2021 right now. That means 2024, 2026. It just it doesn't seem like that close, but that's kind of the timeline that these things can take sometimes, and other projects can happen at the same time too. Sometimes a riparian corridor that maybe has a cleared sewer easement is a little bit less complex. That could take a little bit less time, especially if the city already has the property. And there are some places where that can happen too. But that just gives you kind of an example. It's sort of depends. If that helps answer your question a little bit.
Yeah, and Steve, I'd like to jump in if that's okay.
Yeah, please.
Hey, it's Tracy Pegram with High Point Parks and Recreation. I just wanted to add that, this is the planning stage. This is looking at, where we can put in additional greenway. We don't have any money set aside or any funding available right now. Once we get this piece finished, that's going to open us up for applying for lots of different grants, partnering with transportation to get some DOT funding. And then at that point, we start looking for money. So there's also all of that goes into this too. So putting a time limit on it we're not in a position at this point to say when any of that will be on the ground. But as you know, their trails in High Point are very, very popular. And as Steve said, when he started out, our trails have seen just an enormous amount of use over the past year. So we would love to be able to get some more on the ground and get that connectivity and things going to get people from one part of town to the other. So I wanted to add that too, Steve, just because we don't have any funding set aside. This is just, we need to get the plan in place so we know what we're looking at and then start going after grants. And there's a lot of money out there for this kind of project. We just need to know what we want to do and how much that's going to cost so we can go looking for it.
Yeah.
Rob, let me make a comment here. And this is really more for Steve and Tracy and also for the rest of the CAC. But the section of the Greenway that runs from, I guess, Grimes down into the park was funded with neighborhood stabilization dollars, which came out of the community development department. And I wish you guys would footnote that or something because it gets totally obscured. We put some major money out there to put that Greenway in and put that bridge across the creek and then put the walkway into the park.
Yeah, well, since all that was done through the Southwest Renewal Foundation, they handled all of the financial part of that part of the Greenway and then turned it over to us, as you know. So
we handled that.
Huh?
We handled that. We did that project. But I just wanted to put that out there, especially the CAC members that are new may not be aware of that we did have federal funding in that Greenway.
I wasn't aware of all that either, Mike.
Yeah, we put almost $400,000 out there.
I think that's helpful information to include in the plan too. Just highlighting how some of the past projects have been funded. And Tracy, I think you hit it on the head with finding funding is challenging, and when those dollars get put up, it is important to recognize where they've come from, and maybe we can learn from some of those past examples. Because there's lots of partners that we need to try to work with and work together. I was going to add a couple elements to that. But I'm glad you guys are bringing these points up because these are, the dollars behind this is, it isn't easy. It isn't an easy part of the process. And
staying on that topic, is there money for maintenance right now for the Greenway, or will there need to be funding that we need to seek in order to maintain the Greenway?
The existing Greenway that we have on the ground now,
Yep.
yes, there is some money for some repairs and some maintenance. It depends on if it's a large project, then that's something that we have to plan for in advance, unless it is something that's urgent, something that's unsafe and would cause somebody to get injured. Is there a place that you're thinking about?
No, actually,
Okay.
the Greenway's in great shape right now.
Yeah.
And I was just, I go down Deep River Road, and I know there's there's the wood plank, and then they're supported by the metal beams, whatever that is. So I just got to thinking one day, I know it rains a lot, and I'm just wondering if there is money already set aside for maintenance, because I just look at things like that, and over time things deteriorate. And I would love to keep using the Greenway because it definitely connects me to recreation. So, I'm just, I'm like you, I mean, if you need funding, where do we find it? Can we find it? And if it's available, I can.
Right. We haven't started setting aside money to replace that yet. It's still fairly new. So we do have money that we use for, routine maintenance. When a tree falls across the Greenway, we have money to replace those boards and take care of that. Hopefully it'll be a while before we have to start thinking about repairs and fixing some of that infrastructure that was just put in. But you're right, it was a very costly project, and it would be very expensive to fix.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
And I wanted to just highlight again the point about the coordination between funding partners that Tracy mentioned, and that we've been talking about here too. Is plans like this are important for coordinating across jurisdictions, but partners like NCDOT, when there's roadway projects, they're resurfacing roads or rebuilding roads or building new roads all the time. It's important to have projects on a master plan. That the Sandy Ridge Road project is a good example. That road is going to be widened over the next few years by NCDOT because High Point has been proactive with past planning efforts. That project will include a trail along the roadway to make a connection to that park, and will kind of serve as an element to connect to in that northern area, which is a good example there. So we are, towards the end of the planning process here. Kind of the last few steps are, finalizing the draft plan and placing on the website so it can be publicly available and commented and receive comments. Like I said, there'll be a draft plan webinar that'll be open to the general public. A draft presentation to the council, and then there'll be a final presentation to the council after any comments and edits that are needed to the document based on public comment and the review period. And that'll be the end of the process right there. And so with that, again, my name is Steve Zanofsky. I've been working closely with Jason Reyes and Matt Hayes on this project. And I appreciate y'all's time. Any other questions, feel free to let me know if you have them now, and certainly send me an email. Give me a call anytime. We're always happy to chat. And again, just want to thank you all for your time tonight.
Yep, Steve, we ended the conversation a couple nights ago by telling everybody the website. Since the survey has been taken down, we did want to invite everyone to the project website. And Michelle has information, and she can share it with everybody by email to make it a little bit easier. But Alta put together a website specific for our project. And there's a place in there if you're interested in finding out about the next public meeting. If you'll go in there and put your name and address, we'll be reaching out to you when these plans are, not the plans being finalized, but the draft plan is finalized, and invite you to join another public meeting to give your input, to find out more information about the project.
And Tracy, that's what I was gonna say, because I think this presentation is probably the same slides that we had at the last one on Monday. So I can send it out to the CAC along with that information that you sent to me.
Okay.
So that they can also have that information too. And then I was just, and this probably is gonna in the design phase, and so I'm probably a little bit ahead of just getting it started, but I want to put this out there. I was having a conversation on yesterday with the director of the museum, and we were talking about another neighborhood, and we were talking about how we could actually have something, they could have in a museum that would tell the history. You know how sometimes you go into the museum and you there's a box and you push a button and it talks about the history of what's going on. And while she was talking, the first thing I said was, gosh, this could go on the Greenway. So as the Greenway goes through neighborhoods, people can mash a button on one of those little boxes and listen to the history of the neighborhood. So I told her that I was going to bring this up tonight, just so it'll be a seed in the back of someone's head. You guys start to do the planning, because I think with Jason, we asked a question about when the Greenway goes through the neighborhood, what would you guys do with the Greenway that sort of would enhance the neighborhood, do a little something as, people are going through that neighborhood. And I think that box would be perfect, to talk about the history and stuff, as people are walking through the different neighborhoods.
I think that's a great idea. There are apps, and we have had some conversations about using this for environmental education purposes. I haven't thought about the historical part of it yet, but you can download an app on your phone and you can listen to it as you're doing a walk. And there's some kind of buttons that you push once you get to a specific spot, or there's QR codes that you can scan from a sign that talk to you. You can read about the history. I think that's a great idea, Michelle.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I don't think I've seen a Greenway where that example exists in North Carolina. It'd be really cool. It could complement maybe a plaque too that highlights maybe some photos, some historical photos and text. I like that idea a lot.
Yeah, we're definitely planning to, I'm trying to think where we are in this process, but we're definitely working on some signs to go on the new section of the High Point Greenway. And I think that what they were working on were the QR codes where you scan it with your phone, and then it'll either say it out loud or you can read about the nature part of it. But I'm certainly going to throw out the subject of the history as well.
Like older people might not want to scan onto their phones
Yeah.
or that type of thing. And so if they can sort of stop and there's a bench and they can hear the history, I think would be very nice.
That'd be pretty cool.
Hi guys, this is Aurel. I know Jason also mentioned about it being early as well as what Michelle said, and I was wondering, are there going to be any charging stations, for example, USB charging stations for those that have smartphones that may want to charge their phones on the way as they're walking through the trail? And then also, has it been taken into consideration some sort of hotspot or places where if someone wants Wi-Fi, they can get free Wi-Fi along the trail?
We have not talked about charging stations. There may be some opportunities, especially through the downtown area. And Steve, you can please make a note of that in your notes. We haven't really talked about that. The downtown part would be a really good place for that. When you're talking about hotspots, depending on where you're, whether it's existing Greenway, because a lot of ours is really, it feels like you're really far out in the country and there's, trees and homes all around you. So I don't know how that would work, but definitely through the downtown area, there's already a really good Wi-Fi signal through there. And as we've got Wi-Fi at all of our recreation centers and in a couple of the parks, not all of them. So yeah, that's a good idea too.
Yeah, and I think Tracy hit it on the head. A lot of times during those destinations, and the word mobility hubs too is a lot of times where those end up. So where you might park your bike or where you might get off the trail, maybe a trailhead is where you might have a charging station a lot of times. The downtown area, like that ballpark section would be probably an area where you'd want to consider. But, in this day and age, those are definitely options, especially in the future. If 5 Point, ever rolls out a micromobility share, electric bikes and scooters, if and when they come to downtown High Point, those are, activated by apps on the phone, and having Wi-Fi options are helpful. And like Tracy mentioned, last time I was in High Point in the fall, I remember taking a call and plugging into the Wi-Fi at the library just from the parking lot there. I know there's several hotspots out there right now, but those are important pieces too. And a lot of those can be really dug into in the design process as well. But those are helpful to highlight in the planning process too, especially if that's something we think could work really well here in High Point.
And that's exciting that you brought that up. I like the idea and the forward thinking of those ideas.
This is Jessica Wynn. I was actually in the Monday meeting, and I've connected with you guys over email just because of the overlap of the market district with your plans. And we are actually trying out for the first time this market some solar powered charging stations that you can lock your phone into. They actually have a UV light inside them, so it also sanitizes your phone, which is great for this day and age, obviously. But we are from an event level, so they would only come in for market and then they would leave again. We're testing those out this market. So that could definitely be a cool thing for you guys to check out. I know we've connected via email, and I'm sure we'll have a phone call very soon, and I can kind of show you some pictures of what we're looking at. But they're solar powered, and I've been told that even if it's cloudy, it's just fine. So that could be pretty cool.
That's amazing. Thanks for sharing that, Jessica, especially for those parts of the Greenway that might be, further from downtown, a little bit more remote. Could certainly fit well in those spots too. And really, it sounds like anywhere.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see. I've been told it works great in overcast, but I'm very interested to see how it goes this market.
Okay, is there any other questions about the High Point Greenway?
All right.
Not, Rob, we turn it back over to you.
All right. Well, thank you, Steve. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
This evening.
Thank you all very much.
Yeah, we look forward to talking to you in the near future.
Bye.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Bye-bye. Okay. All right, guys, we'll move right along. Does everyone have a copy of the 2021 application selections from the grants?
Yes.
Okay.
The results? Rob, do you mean the results?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I have them.
Okay. And so tonight we're going to be voting on these results. Does anyone have any questions or comments about the voting, how it came out? I would take that as a no. Okay. So do we have a motion to accept the votes and the scores as presented?
I'll make a motion. I make the motion to accept what has been presented here.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor to accept the CDBG grant selections for the 21-22 fiscal year. We have a motion and second. Do we have any questions? No? Okay, we will take a vote and we'll go down the line. Jim?
Yes.
Jessica,
Yes.
Clodagh,
Yes.
Orel,
Yes.
Mr. Mingo,
Yes.
and got Jessica, and I am a yes. So it is unanimous. Motion carries. Did we get anyone else to come on the line? No. Okay. All right. So the motion carries. All right, next on the agenda are the neighborhood meetings. Anyone have any reports from the meetings from the last month? Any attendees out there?
Jim, do you want to talk about the cleanup, or do you want Aurel to talk about the
I
cleanup?
was going
or-
to say, Jim, I was going to ask you the same question.
Well, Rob, we had a cleanup last Saturday, and it was a great turnout. We had a good time. There was over 50 people showed up, people we didn't even know, most of them. And people were asking about doing another one. So Jessica and Orel played a huge part in putting this all together, and big help in the day of the cleanup. And I know Clodagh was there, so there was five CAC members there throughout the whole
Rob too.
time.
Yeah,
Yes,
Rob
yeah, I
came
said that.
through. Oh, sorry.
Orel
Yeah.
and Jessica, you want to make any more comments? Please go ahead.
It was awesome.
Aurel?
I actually had a lot of fun. So I love that people
guys
asked when
did
the
great.
next one was.
You guys did a really good job.
Thanks. Rebecca Copeland with the city also played a huge role. She was great. And
I also
apparently, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You go ahead, Jessica.
I was going to say, the only thing I was going to say, and I'm sure the city will send us more information, or one of us can ask Rebecca for more info and send it out, but the Great American Cleanup is supposed to be April 29th. So there'll be kind of a big citywide thing. I only know about the date. That's all I know about. I don't know too many details, but you can definitely share that with the group as it comes up. Or
Jessica-
Michelle might, or
Yeah, Jessica, whenever that happens, we always send out the details to the neighborhoods because we always ask them to participate. And so it will be coming out through, through the neighborhood associations, and you guys can still get information from Rebecca, but that's one of the things that we do.
nice. And then Aurel, what were you going to say? Sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to also thank this team as well. Community development, Michelle, Alicia, and those seen as well as unseen that helped to make sure that we got all the information and flyers done for the cleanup. It was surprising to me. I know we all care about things about High Point as a community, but it was really surprising to me how much passion people put into helping out last weekend, and some were even kind of overzealous, and this probably more than they needed to. But I just wanted to thank the community as well for their participation, and we're looking forward to planning for the next one.
I noticed on Shady Brook Road in particular, and there's been another couple areas, but just today even, I still see a couple bags out. So hopefully the city will come and pick them up. There was a blue bag on Shady Brook Road today.
Okay. Rebecca did tell me that it takes them a few days to get it.
Okay.
But she told me that on Monday or Tuesday. So it might be worth checking in with her now. I can do that. Thank you for letting us know.
Yeah.
They may have
Do you
missed
know-
one, so.
The other thing I wanted to just add to was Monday's neighborhood meeting was very informative. So for those that are leaders in the various different neighborhoods, I do want to encourage those to come out because there are things that said in those meetings that are very vital to the communities that we're located in. On Tuesday's meeting with Washington Street, and I know Jackie, the president of the Washington Street division, I know she's probably going to give up more, but just wanted to bring it out to everyone's attention that they may be looking for they will be looking for some volunteers to help. I believe it's starting June, I believe it is. And Michelle, you can give more information on that, but they may be looking for volunteers. I think it's once a month. They want to help to feed the communities there in the Washington Street area. And one of the things that I'm thinking that we could do as a group, as a council, is to be one of those months volunteer. And I think that'll be very good, not only to help our community, but also to know our community as well.
I think it's a great idea, Orel. I was also at that meeting, so I'm glad you did mention that. That Washington Street initiative, I think, is going to be maybe in May and in June. And I would go on the record saying I fully support that because as a part of the Citizens Advisory Council, we definitely have that outreach to the city. And so, if we're out there, just like we did with Oakview this past weekend, and I want to tip my hat to you guys, Jim, Orel, and Jessica, y'all did a great job. I know just the participation was outstanding. So, you can just, know that as long as we are here, then, we can do things like that. So I'm fully behind you on that one, Orel.
Thanks.
Okay. Now, there weren't many meetings last month. I know Washington Street had a meeting, and then Oakview had one in London Woods. Was anyone able to get to the London Woods meeting? I know I was not.
I did come into London Woods, but I was a little late, so I didn't hear all of the presentation, but I was there for the last part of it.
Okay.
On their meeting, Rob, they had some discussions concerning the speeding on the streets. And they had Mark McDonald from the director of transportation to speak with them concerning how they would go about getting speed bumps or either getting some type of speed signs for the streets that they had concerns with. And they also had the police department there to listen to them talk about the speeders on the street and what can be done in terms of reducing people coming on certain streets speeding. And so those two presented to the London Woods community on their meeting last month, earlier this month, I'm sorry.
Okay. And where would one go to inquire about those speed bumps? Is that, what department would that be?
Transportation.
Transportation. Okay. All right. So have they set up something to go to transportation, or is this?
Yes, they, excuse me. Yes, they have. They actually picked up some paperwork from Mark McDonald on how to do petitions and how they needed to go about getting residents. I think it's 75% of the residents that live on those streets that they're talking about, the speed bumps on, has to sign a petition, and they have almost gotten everybody. They've gone around door knocking to get everybody to sign those petitions, and so they are well on their way to getting what Mark is requesting them to have, so that they could actually take a look at it, to see if those roads would qualify for speed bumps or reduce speed signs on them or whatever.
All right. Excellent. Excellent. Any other reports? Any other neighborhood meetings anyone's attended? The leaders meeting, neighborhood leaders meeting? No. Okay. Well, we didn't have a lot of meetings. Like I say, there's still some groups that are not having meetings at this point. And so hopefully that will change as we move forward. Maybe with the COVID, restrictions relaxing some, we'll be able to get out. I still encourage everyone to attend a meeting, as many as we can, just to see what's going on out there, see what kind of concerns we have and some things we can bring back to this committee. Does anyone have any other questions or comments? Okay. So we'll move on to community development, and we have Michael Manera up next with the annual action plan.
Hello, everybody. Let me share my screen here. I've got a presentation for you. And okay, doke. As you know, annually we have to prepare and submit an annual action plan to HUD. So we're in the middle of that process now. You're familiar with our annual action plan, and last year we did the 5-year consolidated plan. So this will be the second action plan of the 5-year consolidated plan. And I think you're familiar with most of this, so I'm not going to dive into a lot of detail, but you know that we do affordable housing, community capacity building, and strategic code enforcement. You're also familiar with the HUD income guidelines that we utilize in the implementation of these programs. For most of our programs, the 80% of the median is the absolute highest amount someone can earn and still receive assistance. When people request assistance, the first question we ask is, what is your household income? And probably, do you live in High Point? But as you can see, for a family of 4, if your household income is less than just $52,900 or less, then you would be eligible for the programs. That would be the income for everybody in the household, not just the head of the household. We anticipate having a budget this year of approximately $2.6 million. You can see the program sources there to the left, and then the uses to the right. We'll be able to get into detail of some of those later.
Mike, can I ask something real quick?
Yes.
I happen to, on this, the course at Core City, I'm nuts about that Core City redevelopment.
Yes.
It was increased 800,000, and now you're only getting 400,000.
That's what we actually got roughly last year. We asked, the city's still in the budget process, and it's possible it could go up. When I asked, are you going to fully fund it? They said it's too early to tell. It could be that with the American Rescue Plan might allow them to fully fund it. And I'll touch base on that a little later after I finish that. This is a pie chart just showing you how the funds distributed. One of the things I just want to point out is that our CDBG allocation went down by 18,586. It frankly surprised us. And then our home funds went up by almost 5,000, 45,48. Again, with the funding distribution, you see graphically all the different activities we have going on and the relative size of each. And what I'll do when we start talking about proposed activities, I'm really going to focus in on the new stuff because you're familiar with the urgent repair, you're familiar with down payment assistance, you're familiar with Operation Inasmuch and the community guards, all that kind of stuff, VITA. So rather than to make the presentation a little more succinct, I'm going to kind of focus in on new activities for the upcoming year. You just voted on the public service grant recommendations. Those will be included in the action plan as it was recommended. One of the new projects we have is a program called SOAR. SOAR is a program that works with the homeless to help them access Social Security benefits, and also provide access to mental illness and other substance abuse issues. This will be a pilot project. The Servant Center, which you can kind of see their logo in the background, the Servant Center is actually located in Greensboro, and most of their funding is targeted towards Greensboro and Guilford County, but not in High Point so much. So this is to help them get a foothold in High Point, and get that rolling. This is one we feel pretty good about. Hartley Meadows is a multifamily development that, if you're familiar with where West Hartley is, this is on the corner of Hartley and I want to say Ingleside, but I don't think that's the right street. But 72 units. This project was submitted last year to the state. Did not get approved because of the relative poverty level in that census tract. But now the state has removed poverty as a factor, and they feel pretty confident that they will get that award. City will be proposing a loan of $300,000 from home funds to just participate in that.
Hartley Ridge is at Hartley and Ingleside.
They'll be across the street from each other.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Hartley Street's on one side of the street, and Hartley Drive will be on the 501 West Hartley, or Hartley Meadows. Bit of a challenging site, but I believe they feel like they've got a handle on it. We'll see what happens with that. Wendover Heights is a new one that it has several firsts in it. Number one is it's out. This is out where Wendover and Morris Farm Road is. 216 units. This is going to be using tax exempt bonds. And so the builder will be asking the city to issue approximately $20 million in tax exempt bonds. Now, let me talk about that for just a minute, because just have no confusion. These are not GO bonds. When a tax exempt bond, the city has no financial liability. It doesn't impact debt cap or anything like that. But it's a mechanism that the state and the IRS have put in place to allow people to sell bonds and have the interest be tax exempt. And that's why they call them tax exempt bonds. City's done this before. You may recall that the addition, was it Phoenix Academy, I believe? The construction out of Phoenix Academy, the city issued $35 million in tax exempt bonds. So this is not something we've never done before, as this is the first time we've done it with affordable housing. So this is something that we're really looking forward to. We're going to be having a presentation at the April 5th managers briefing. We're going to have the bond counsel come in and talk to council and make sure that they understand everything that's involved. And this will be, it's in our action plan, but it won't be in our budget because the funds will never actually come to the city, but we will be able to sort of claim the unit, so to speak, in our action plan. So now, as we're moving through our schedule, tonight we're doing this review with you. Next week, the draft plan will be available for public comment for 30 days. April 6th, we will present to the Community Development Committee. April 19th, we will be before council for a public hearing. And then we'll finalize the plan and come back to council on May 3rd and ask them to approve it. And then we'll submit it to HUD on May 15th. And basically, that's all I have. I think we just kind of restated that. So, but I will certainly entertain any questions or comments.
What about I know you'd mentioned, we talked about affordable senior housing. Is that something that's coming up, or?
There are other developments that are on the drawing board, Jim. The tax exempt bond process has 2 application periods. And so I know that there are other sites he's looking at one site down at down on South Main, just south of the Sir Pizza down there. There's a site down there. And he's assembling some property for another site, but he hasn't got everything locked down, so we're not talking about it publicly. And so there's a couple other sites that he has in play, but we haven't gotten there yet. And
Why couldn't you put? Well, I guess seniors could rent some of these places, right?
Oh yeah, but generally seniors like to live with seniors.
I wouldn't.
You would. But I think that's the feedback that we get, is that they would rather be in a senior development than in a multifamily. But they definitely can live in a multifamily.
Okay.
So one of the issues is that the demand is for multifamily. We keep saying to him, we want to see some more senior housing, and we have people, tell us that. That's something that we're working through. I think the next project, once it's unveiled, we'll probably be able to talk about it in maybe next meeting or the meeting after. I think that one will be a senior.
Okay. Cool.
He's assembling the project, so he doesn't want it to be publicly known, and that makes prices go up.
Oh, okay.
So he's still working through those deals.
Hey, Mike.
Questions for me? I know I went through that kind of quickly.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
Quick question. Once the presentation is made to council and it's been approved, what is the groundbreaking? Is it this year or next year?
The groundbreaking?
Yeah.
Typically what happens in these developments is, like for instance, the one on Wendover, if he gets an award from the state, all that's contingent upon him getting a tax credit allocation from the state. That award will be notified in August, but it tends to take 5-6 months before any dollars show up, maybe even longer. And also, we have to do an environmental review, which can take 3 or 4 months, and we kind of like to know that the project's funded before we expend that level of staff resources, because it is time consuming. So, and some developers, I don't know about this guy, the guy that's doing Hartley Drive. I had one developer tell me, he says, I don't do groundbreakers, I do ribbon cutters. That's what I want to walk in and show it to you. I don't want to turn over the dirt. So that just varies from develop. These are 2 different developers, by the way. Wendover West side, Wendover Heights side is Winfield Ford, and that's the guy that has done all the other tax credits we've been involved with. Avondale, he did Avondale, he did Admiral Point, did Addington Ridge, Kirkwood, Hartley Drive. He did all those. The other gentleman is new to us, and so he requested funding, and basically we said to him, well, if the state funds you, we'll fund you. I know last year we had both of them applying at the same time. We basically said, we'll let the state go through that process, and we'll work with whoever is the last person standing. And he didn't get funded last year, but he came back this year with the same project. So we'll see what happens with that. Anything else for me?
Thanks.
Do I need to go back to anything? Good. I didn't want to move too fast, but you're familiar with all this stuff. I didn't want to drum that all, we've been talking about this all year. Just wanted to be mindful of your time. So I guess at this point, I would ask that you take a vote to recommend the plan to council.
So do we recommend the plan before the viewing period?
Well, council won't see it till the 19th.
Mm-hmm.
That's when we do the public hearing. So when we go, and we won't see you again before then.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to go in on the 19th, and we need to be able to say the CAC recommended approval, or the CAC had no comment, or whatever the CAC had to say. But we need to report to them what your reaction is.
I got just a quick, Mike, when will you know that 400,000 on that core city redevelopment? When are you going to know if you're going to get more?
Well, the budget workshops generally start, Mayish, June. We may know before then. I mean, we may know what they intend to recommend. They're literally putting the numbers together right now.
Because if I remember right, the original was a 500,000 and then it was increased 800.
500,000, and then he bumped it up to 800,000.
Yeah,
And
but now you're only getting half of that. That don't make sense. So,
well, right now they're trying to practice fiscal conservatism because of the pandemic. So that's what that's all about. It was actually cut last year, or this current year.
oh.
And see, some of our activities were curtailed. We didn't do Operation Inasmuch at all because of the pandemic. You just wasn't wise to try to get volunteers together. So, but I'm hopeful. I'm hearing that. I think the big question is, what I understand, property taxes are coming in almost unchanged. That those property taxes are being paid. The sales taxes were what they're looking at. So that's what they want to make sure that they don't have a gap. And then, depending upon the guidance we receive from the U.S. Treasury about the American Rescue Plan, that could come into play as well. And I'll actually talk to you about that a little bit in my update, just to share what little bit I know.
Has there been a lot of progress? That organization that came here, the Center for Community Progress, has there been and their recommendations? Has there been a lot of progress with that?
Yeah, it's actually, Jim, and I can share that with you. For the first 2 years after we had the engagement with them, we had like every 6 months, I think, we had to report to them what our progress was on each of the action points. And I mean, these were pretty in-depth discussions, and I think we answered the mail. We ended up, I don't know if you recall or not, we ended up hosting one of their events. So they felt like we were pretty competent in getting that stuff done, and we're still following. So we got a lot of good out of that engagement.
Yeah. That was interesting.
Yeah, it was. Still is. It's still relevant.
Yeah.
And really, for those of you who maybe that's something we can talk about at a future meeting, or maybe we don't have as thick an agenda, I can come in and update you guys on that. Because I know, Oral and some of the other guys like, what are you talking about? This is something that happened in 2015. And we had a multi-year engagement with this agency called the Center for Community Progress. So it was very interesting, very intense, very in-depth, a lot of community involvement, a lot of interaction with the county, UNC School of Government, other agencies. We even had some other cities come in and visit. So yeah, that's something we can put on the agenda. Michelle, let's just have that out there. We'll find the appropriate meeting to do that. Sometime next meeting or two, we can do that. If you want to.
I think it's interesting. I think people would be interested in it.
Yeah.
To talk about community progress?
Yeah, that whole project and what we've done. Because it really did result in some, I think, some pretty fundamental adjustments in how we do things, particularly in the area of code enforcement. The commitment to doing the Core City Redevelopment Fund really came out of that. Yeah, we can talk about that. As I'm done, we would, if we could have a.
Mike, can I just add something here?
Sure.
This is Nina.
Hey.
If the way that our schedule is that because the draft isn't out until next week, council won't actually, we're not going to take it to them for approval until their first meeting in May. So the CAC could have an opportunity to look at the draft document before, they vote to recommend. If you want to, if they want to actually see the document first, and it'll be available next Thursday, April 1st. And then we have the public hearing on the 19th. And then, at the next CAC meeting, we could provide, any comments that we've received or anything like that, just as an update and a follow-up to get the recommendation for council.
I don't
want to go to council and say the CAC is still thinking about it.
I have to agree with you, Mike. I think we've seen this a lot, so we should all be familiar with it.
Okay.
But we certainly, we certainly link when the draft is out there. And, if you have any feedback or comments.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, are we prepared to take a vote this evening?
Well, let me say this, Rob, because I don't want you to feel like you're being steamrolled. If you would prefer to take a vote at what meeting would that be, Michelle?
April meeting.
Your April meeting. Yeah, I'll just tell council that we reviewed the plan with you and that you will take a vote to recommend or not recommend at your April meeting, and we will report your vote at May 3rd.
I think we ought to vote tonight.
That's your call. I don't want to pressure you to think you got to. That's frankly, it's kind of been sort of the inertia of history. We've always done it that way, but doesn't have to be that way. We can certainly, like I said, just tell them that it's been reviewed with you. That's because I'm going to review it with the committee on April 5th. I'm going to show them the same presentation you just saw. And, I'll just tell them, we reviewed it with the CAC and the draft wasn't available at the time. And we opted to wait until their April meeting to vote, but they have reviewed it.
I think if we vote on it tonight, you'll be going to a council meeting a lot better prepared than kind of fumbling around saying, "Oh, we're still looking at it."
I never fumble around, Jim.
We all have our own opinions. Anyway, that's my thought.
I'm trying to be accommodating, and Nina did make a very valid suggestion, and I didn't want to just dismiss it.
Right.
Well, I know, Jim, he's comfortable with the vote. Does anyone else have a comment or question? No one. Well, my recommendation is also to vote this evening. Everyone should have had the opportunity to see the plan, and if you have any questions, to bring them forward. We do have a quorum, so I'm going to say we're going to go ahead and make a motion. Would someone like to make a motion to accept the annual action plan as presented this evening?
Rob, can I make a comment before you do that?
Oh, yes.
Again, getting back, because the more I think about it, Nina's point is very valid because you haven't seen anything other than this PowerPoint presentation. You have not had the opportunity to flip the pages and pull your pens out and say, what does that mean? Anything like that. And I don't want to undercut your ability to do that. So if you want to wait, I don't have a problem with it. I'll just put it out there like that. It's your call. There's, if you want to actually get a hold of the draft or look at it online, and have the opportunity to ask questions, but also kind of understand that the train will have left the station, so to speak. But be glad to, however you want to approach it. And I'll be quiet. I'll even put my mute on.
I'll make a motion to approve the action plan.
We have a motion on the floor to approve the annual action plan. Do we have a second?
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? Okay, so we'll go ahead and vote. We'll go one at a time. Jim?
Yes.
Jessica? She's still there? I'll come back to you, Jessica. Clodagh?
Yes.
Orel?
Yes.
Mr. Mingo?
Hi, this is
Yes.
sorry. Hi, this is Jessica. Sorry, for some reason, like it wouldn't unmute. But I did try to say yes.
Okay. And I will also be a yes. The motion carries.
Rob, I think Warren Boone is also on the line. He joined.
I am here and I vote yes. Thank you.
Oh, hey, good evening, Mr. Boone.
How are you? How are you?
Good. Glad you can make it. Okay, so motion carries. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
You have some updates for us?
Yeah, I thought I would spend a little bit of time to talk to you, to share with you what we know about the American Rescue Plan. You've probably read different things, but one of the things, big thing from our perspective is that the entitlements, well, I think every city over $50,000 is going to be getting a direct allocation of funds. High Point has an estimated allocation of $23,420,000. Now, we're supposed to receive the first allocation. We still don't know if it's going to be a check or a wire or just a line of credit. But we're supposed to receive half of it by May 15th. Now, everybody's running around trying to figure out what this thing means, because there's just a lot of questions, a lot of guidance that has not been released yet. We know that the act was divided into, I believe, 11 sections, covering different areas, agriculture, health and education and labor. The one we've been looking at is the one that's for community banking, housing, and urban affairs. The thing that's a bit confusing and nobody really, at least I don't have an understanding of, maybe somebody else does, but in each one of these sections are sub allocations. So for instance, the emergency rental assistance. The plan includes $21 billion for emergency rental assistance. Well, we don't know how much of our 24 million has to be spent on emergency rental assistance. You see what I'm saying? So there's got to be, I'm thinking there's got to be stovepipes of some kind where they're going to break it up and say, rather than just they got to give us instructions on how you got to spend it. And so very early on, we don't know. The county's getting $100 million. Greensboro's getting $55 million. You know, so we're all kind of asking the same questions. A lot of funding for emergency housing vouchers and assistance for people experiencing homelessness, mortgage utility assistance. We just don't know how it's going to break out. We don't know. The only thing we do know is we will get a direct home allocation. We do know that, but we don't know how much it is. I'm thinking, I would guess, my guess, it would probably be larger than what we normally get, but we'll see. Because normally, help me out here, Nina, isn't home normally $2.5 billion every year in the budget? Are you there?
HUD's budget. I'm sorry, in HUD's budget.
Yeah. Isn't it normally in the $2.5 billion range?
Yeah, yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah, and they put in $5 billion for home, so it could be that.
Yeah.
Depending on depending on the formula they use, it could be quite a bit of funding. So we really don't know, but I just wanted to share that with you because I know you've probably seen stuff on the news or seen stuff on TV, seen stuff in the Rhino or wherever. Haven't seen much in the paper locally, but I know that some of the other papers are writing about it quite a bit. So it's just don't know a lot to tell you right now. We just know that we're supposed to get, and that number can change. I think the census is going to impact it too. So somewhere 23, 24 million. We're supposed to get half by May. The other half a year from the first payment. And then I think we have, depending upon when you commit it, it could be anywhere from 2 to 7 or 8 years to spend it. So this is going to be something that we're all going to be very tied up with, I think, for quite a bit of time. It's not going to funnel into CD. But then we don't know how it's going to work. There are other departments that would be involved because you got transportation dollars, you got economic development dollars, you got infrastructure dollars. And then there's this piece in this, and this is where Jim, this is where I was alluding to earlier. There's a piece in here that's, let me find this. There's a piece in the act that speaks to reimbursing local governments for state and local fiscal aid. And what it's supposed to do is to help offset revenue shortfalls from the pandemic. So essentially, if you can establish that, I guess looking at the last full year before the pandemic, you can establish that, yeah, my sales taxes went down this amount because of the pandemic. Potentially, they may be able to take some of that funding to replace it. And I think if they're able to do that, then we may see some of these other numbers come up. I think right now everybody's just playing it kind of pretty safe because nobody wants to bounce a check, right? That's all I've got. If anybody's interested, I've got I can send you a link. The North Carolina League of Municipalities has what they call an ARP page, American Rescue Plan page. It has a lot of information on it. We'll be glad to shoot the link out to you. It's not, it's open to the public, and you can get more information and learn about it. But it is definitely going to have an impact, a positive impact on High Point. A couple of us sat in on a webinar, I believe it was Tuesday morning, that the North Carolina League of Municipalities and the National League of Cities had. And one of the biggest concerns that was expressed by people involved in the seminar, and I think they said they had 500 people on the call. They were kind of stressing everybody, look, these are federal dollars. Federal dollars have strings. Make sure you understand what your requirements are, before you start spending the money. Make sure that you know what you're doing is something you can do. So, if you've never heard of Davis-Bacon, you might want to pause. So it was that kind of stuff. Those of us that are entitlement cities have a better feel for that, but some of the other cities may not. But there's still a lot of questions we don't know at this point. Maybe if I have more information at the next meeting, I'll certainly update. I will have more information, I'm sure I will. I'll update you on what we know and where things are going. I just wanted to share that with you. Any questions about that? I'll answer what I can. Okie dokie. Mr. Chair, I'm done, sir.
Thank you, Mr. McNair. I didn't see Cyril, so do we have any updates from City Council?
You might have seen an article, and I believe it was in the paper today, that I think council has communicated to the manager that they did not want him to wait until the new manager came in to hire a police chief or an economic development director. So apparently, Randy is going to get that underway. And he's talking like maybe they'll actually get in here. They may have that done by May. They're thinking that the new manager, that process is going to be winding down in May or June. So a lot of those major vacancies should be filling up. Those are probably at least the two biggest things that came to mind. That's all. I think that's all I got.
Okay. Well, I know we're still doing virtual meetings, right? So City Hall hasn't opened up yet, correct?
Yes. Well, what it is that they aren't allowing the public to come into the room. Council's in the room. The meeting is virtual, but council is there. Staff is there. Presenters are there, but they're not allowing the public to come in. Now, the governor did relax the rules, the restrictions somewhat. There still is a requirement to have, masks on indoors, and I think it's still no more than 50 people in a room or something like that. City's policy is not going to change. We're still going to require everybody to wear masks to come into the building. Well, you can come into the building without a mask. We just won't let you in the room. Because all the doors are locked. So, I think technically you can't make people wear a mask to come in, but you can recommend it. If you come into City Hall, all the doors will have these, please wear a mask signs up on them. And we're also in the process of employees are getting vaccinated. So I don't know what percentages, but we're getting vaccinated, as is everybody else out in the community. And I think that's about got it. It exhausts my knowledge base right now.
Well, we do thank you for all of the updates, sir. We definitely appreciate that. And so we'll just move along to new business. If anyone has any questions for Mike.
I want to make a comment real quick.
Yes, sir.
I have to pat you and Lori on the back because I've been crazy about these. I drive all day long, so I'm around everywhere in the city. All these signs, you know, that we buy houses, and
yeah,
the code enforcement guys have been super fantastic at getting them down. Unfortunately, as soon as they take them down, they're right back up like they are now. Apparently, there's not much of a deterrent. That's why they keep going back up. But
yeah,
she has done a super job at getting them down.
I stopped. I was at a stoplight. I saw this guy putting the sign up, and I rolled my window down. I said, "You can't do that." And he said, "Who are you? You know, you with the city?" So yeah, I am. I'm just in my personal vehicle. You know, so you can't do that. I'll send somebody down here shortly. So, but he kept putting them up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a never.
It's nice to travel down Main Street and not see all that stuff, but they're back up again now. So
yeah, it's a never-ending battle.
Yeah, I saw a guy at Food Line putting one up one time, and I said something to him. I thought he was going to come over and shoot me, but
now, and Jim, also because of the pandemic, what we did before the pandemic was every Saturday, every month, we would work a Saturday for 4 hours. We'd bring the whole team in, and they would do nothing but pull signs. Wouldn't be the same Saturday, but just rotate. And with the pandemic, we have not been doing that, but I imagine we'll be starting that back up probably this summer.
Well, they're doing a good job. That's all
Thank you. I'll pass that on. I'll pass that on.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a nice segue into our new business with the Grantee agency tours. I wanted to bring to the council the idea of going on tours with the agencies that have come for grants. And so I know we're still in the pandemic, so I'm not saying to actually go out to the places, but the other possibility would be to maybe do a virtual tour. And so I wanted to bring that to the group to see who would be interested in that, because we haven't had a chance to actually do things as a group, like visit some of these places or do a tour of the city. So I think, I was thinking as the state is getting ready to open up a little bit more, who would be interested in doing a tour of some of the grantees that we've awarded monies to?
I would be interested. I haven't done any yet. So.
Yeah, I'd like to too.
Yes, Rob, you can definitely count me in on that.
Okay. Excellent. Anybody else interested? What about our veterans on the team? Jim, Mr. Mingo.
I mean, I'd be interested, but I've done a lot of these tours, but I'm good with it.
Okay.
yeah, I've been on a lot of them too, but it's kind of hard for me since I work.
Okay. Well, I know I want to do something, like I say, just to, get out to these grantees to see what they do, because it better helps us understand what our roles are as CAC members. So, if we can see what the agencies, what their mission is, how they accomplish the goals that they set out, I think it'd be great for us just as CAC members. So I hope as many people can attend, maybe this summer. And maybe we can work with the agencies, Michelle, and maybe try to set up a virtual tour sometime.
See, a lot of us, well, several of us do the grant allocations with United Way, and we'll be taking the virtual tours there of pretty much the same agencies that we deal with here at the CAC. That's coming up in the next week or two.
If the veterans of the group opt out because they have taken the tour before or something like that, would our group be small enough to do an in-person?
Jessica, what I would have to do is to find out what the protocol is for that agency. And once I can do that, then that will definitely tell us, what they are doing and what they're not doing.
And then again, guys, I mean, how do you feel about that? Aurel, Clota, how would you feel about doing an in-person tour if, it was possible?
Well,
Go ahead, Clota.
oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Michelle sent out that flyer and I signed up for my first vaccination on Saturday. I feel a bit more comfortable after this.
Yeah, and I was going to bring that up too. The flyer that Michelle sent, that's pretty good. There's a lot of places that's opening up to do vaccinations, and the flyer that's for this week, this upcoming weekend. This is our shot. That is pretty good for those that may be looking for places or wanting to know where they're going to get information on places to get vaccinated. So I'm definitely open to doing it in person. I actually got my shot last week. Thursday, so I've got my first dose, and I'll be getting my second dose in the next couple of weeks.
Well, I certainly can attest to the power of the vaccine because it does change the mindset a little bit. So I've got mine planned for this week as well. I'm trying to get the one shot. So yeah, I mean, if we could just, we'll talk and see what day is available for us. Doesn't have to be immediate. So we can be in May, it can be in June. And I would say let's try to push it out those times because we can see how this pandemic is moving.
I will humbly request that if we do an in-person tour, that it could be late June. Market did get moved to the first week of June. So the month of May, I will pretty much disappear from existence for a little bit and resurface that probably about that third week of June.
Probably the later the better.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I was thinking later in the summer, hopefully, everyone will get their shot and maybe, restrictions will be eased that we can actually go out and hold hands, meaning our significant others, not each other.
Thank goodness you said that.
No kumbaya yet. All right. But no, I mean, just thinking, the later it gets into the summer, hopefully this pandemic will have, we'll have some control over it. So Jessica, I'm all for that late June, anytime, when you're available in June, July, or August.
Yeah, the market's the 5th through the 9th. So I will say the 10th and 11th, I'm just tired. But after that, I'm around.
Okay. All right. So what we'll do is we'll discuss this at the next meeting. We'll get the other members in and see how they feel about it. And then we'll see what works for us. All right.
We'll explore this before the next meeting, but one of the things we need to be mindful of is that you are a public body, we think, and we have to be aware of the public meetings law. I can confirm my concerns with the city clerk, but I think if 5 or more of you are together, I think there has to be some kind of, or you plan to be together. I think there has to be some kind of an announcement. Well, I'll run that down.
There was 5 of us together on Saturday.
I know. I heard you say 5. Like,
Not in the same place. We weren't in the same place.
That's true.
well, I'm just offering that we're going to explore that. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Because
If it is true,
all at the same time, you could be, violating that law. So,
if that's true, I mean, I don't see any harm in doing groups of 3 or anything like that.
oh no, we just want to be mindful of that. I'm not saying you can't do whatever you want to do. We just need to understand the parameters. That
Mike, I think you're right. I think you can only have 4 people without, getting into a big shindig.
Yeah, but what Mike says, we'll chat with Lisa, because I think it depends on maybe the type of meeting and what your purpose is for the meeting. And so we'll just check with Lisa tomorrow and get back with you guys.
nobody's going to come take you away or anything.
What a reason to get locked up.
Watching this meeting, right? I heard him say it.
And Rob, can I piggyback on, you guys were talking about the agencies. The presentations for our regular CDBG grantees, the 2020, 2021. We had talked about them presenting to you guys in April. So what I want to know, if you guys want them to do virtual presentations to you, do you guys want them to do a written presentation to you? I know with the CV grantees, we've been doing written presentations. And so do you want to continue with the CV doing written presentations? And then with the regular grantees, do you want to do virtual presentations, or do you want them to provide you with written information for you to review at your next meeting?
I like the written format. This is Rob.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm Clodagh.
I'm good with that also.
Yeah, I too, Boone.
So you guys, I mean, is that everybody voting to go written?
Don't matter.
Rob, you can do a call.
After the written that we receive, is there still going to be a virtual presentation?
If you do a written one, we probably will not be doing a virtual one. So that's the question. Which one do you prefer? And Rob, if you could take a vote on that, that would help us out a lot as to what people want to do.
Sure. Let's go down the line. Clodagh?
I'll go with written.
Jessica?
I'm fine with written.
Jim?
Written's fine.
Mr. Mingo?
Written.
Orel?
Zoom.
Mr. Boone?
I say written.
And I will be, I'm a written kind of guy, so the W's have it.
Thank you.
Okay. I want to mention something real quick to the group. Has everyone had a chance to see the email sent out by Michelle with a community development week?
Yes.
Okay.
And Rob,
Yes, and I responded.
yes, I was going to tell you, because I was going to bring that up at an appropriate time, but since you brought it up, it's good. I have gotten a response back from Jessica, Orel, and you, Rob. as far as being moderators, and what the email had asked you guys to do, if we could have moderators during that time frame, and also another person to be able to watch the chat box and be able to present the questions at the end of each of the sessions. And so even if you're not moderating, if you could actually be available to possibly, look at the chat box and ask those questions at the end of each session, that would be also very helpful. And if you guys can make a decision on who's going to do, I need to get the agenda out. My plan was to try to get it out to everybody, get everything out to everybody on tomorrow. I've pretty much talked to everybody that's involved in terms of participating, because I wanted to get a verbal yes before I sent anything out and not wait for somebody to say, well, I didn't see it. And so I have pretty much talked to everybody that's going to participate. And you guys are like the missing link if you're going to moderate, because if you're not going to moderate and I have to find someone else, I got to try to do that tomorrow.
Michelle, can you remind us of the time commitment that it was again? Wasn't it 10 to 12?
Yes, it's 10 to 12 on every day except for Wednesday. And then Wednesday is 10:30 to 12:30. And what that would look like is like, okay, like the first day, the person that's going to moderate on the first day will talk about, a little bit about, this is CD week, this is what we're going to be doing for the whole week. That person would say, we're going to have comments from, council members throughout the week. We're going to have agencies, throughout the week. And that the CAC is the ones that's going to be moderating this throughout the week. That person will probably have the most to say. And then once that person does what they have to do, he will introduce the next speaker, who's maybe the mayor or the city manager. And whenever they say their little, whatever they're going to say, their comments, then he will say, now we will have each of the organizations to talk, highlight their organizations and to talk and tell us how CDBG funds, the home funds, have actually helped them accomplish their mission and how it has benefited the community. They'll only have like a small window to talk, because we have a lot of agencies doing this. And then the moderator at the very end will then go in to ask about questions. And then once the questions are answered, if people have questions, then, the moderator will close us out. And then, just ask, if people want to come for the rest of the week, this is what our schedule is going to be, and then go on from there. That's the way it will look for the moderator. And then at the end of the week, which is Friday, we have asked neighborhood leaders to actually participate, to highlight their neighborhood. And even if they did not get something like CBI funds, they get us as staff people to help them throughout what they're doing. And, for the most part, our salary is paid out of the CDBG funds or the home funds. And so we are helping you out in that way too. And so neighborhoods can talk about, just highlight their neighborhood, and then just talk about how community development and housing, has helped them, in their effort to, to do the operations in their neighborhoods. And it's open to the public. It's open to the public.
For that chat box position, would that person have to be on the screen? I mean, what's kind of what does that look like?
I would probably say you would have to, Ryan, you can correct me if you're wrong, but that person needs to be able to, you may not have your picture shown, but at least you need to be able to actually read the question so everybody can hear you.
Mm-hmm. Would you be, and did I hear you correctly that the questions are kind of towards the end? And you're just kind of monitoring the chat box to tell people you'll get to the question soon, or would questions be peppered throughout the 2 hours?
What I am looking at is questions coming at the end, because sometimes a question can take a long time and then it gets into another question, then it gets into another question. And I want all the agencies to be able to present And so if we wait to the end, closer to the end, and those questions be addressed at the end would be better. And that's something that the moderator will say right up front, you know, that all questions, either put them in the chat box, or if there's an opportunity, like if they're on YouTube or something, Ryan can pull them in, there may be an opportunity that people may be able to ask their own questions.
Okay. Given that, I'm just trying to think of what I can get away with while I'm actually at work. Given that, I could probably do, I sent you the dates in which I was available to participate.
Yes.
I could probably moderate one of those days and then monitor the chat another one of those days, if that makes sense.
It does.
Hey, Michelle,
Yes.
I'm also looking at where I can do the chat box. Do you know what day you're missing?
I haven't assigned anybody because I was waiting until I got whoever says they will be able to do, you know, either the moderation or the chat box. And that's what I was going to put together on tomorrow after I talk to you guys tonight.
Okay.
Because only three people responded back from the email that I sent out last week or a week before.
Okay, because I'm available that Wednesday, and then I will look to see if I can get Friday in.
Michelle, the mornings I'm pretty booked up with my childcare. So honestly, I can't ever do those times. Sorry.
Okay.
Getting past my bedtime.
That's your bedtime.
Yeah, I'm old.
Now we're talking about between 10 and 12 in the afternoon, in the morning.
Yeah, yeah, it's in the morning. We're not going to be out at 10 o'clock at night.
I responded to you, didn't I? Yeah.
No, Jim.
I talked to you on the phone today about something.
You talked to me about neighborhoods.
About moderating or talking.
Talking about your neighborhood.
Yeah, okay. COVID brain tonight.
Well, I just like to, you know, encourage whoever can attend to attend. You know, we've been sort of sheltered the last year, and this is a great opportunity for the CAC to be in the community, to be seen, to be out. So if anyone can make those times, please let us know. I know I'll be there. And so if anyone else can be there, I think it'll be outstanding for our group.
So if you have Aurel, Jessica, and Rob that's going to moderate one day, do you need a moderator for Friday as well? So you need 2 days left to be covered by at least a moderator?
Yes, and then what I planned on doing is I had planned on, if I could not get you guys, or you know, and I know some people are working to actually be able to do it, then I was gonna reach out to staff.
Okay. And it sounds like, Jim, you said you would be able to talk about like the Oakview neighborhood specifically on Friday. Is that what you guys talked about?
I think that's what.
Yes, he's a neighborhood leader, so I reached out to him and Mr. Mingo. Both of them will be able to talk about their neighborhoods on Friday.
Okay.
But I got 3 of you. And so what I'll try to do, and I know that I think Rob has said that he could probably do two days if I asked to. And then I'll try to work out with other people to either do the questions or if I need another moderator.
And Michelle, I will let you know tomorrow. I'm putting in a request now for that Friday for those hours to see if I can get it off, and I should get approval tomorrow.
I do have a backup plan in my head if y'all, you know, if I couldn't get everybody, but I wanted to offer the opportunity to you first.
All right. Well, good deal, gang. I think that's going to be a great week for us. I'm pretty excited about it. So good job. Good job. Okay. So our next meeting. Oh, I'm sorry. Michelle, did you have anything?
No, that was it. You talked about CD Week and I was gonna try to bring that in someplace and you did that for me. And then I just wanted to talk about the presentations and you guys have taken care of that for me too. So I don't have anything else. Alicia, can you think of anything that we might need to ask CAC?
No, not that I can think of.
Okay. That's it for me, Rob.
I got one quick thing to say, and then that's it. Now I'm done. I just want to congratulate Arrell on graduating from, what was it, Leadership High Point last
Oh,
night.
yes.
Oh,
He had a
yeah.
picture on Facebook in a suit, which I thought, wow, that's, anyway. Congratulations, Arrell.
Oh,
Thank
Leadership
you.
High Point, yes.
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 The Business High Point, the Chamber of Commerce. And so,
Yes.
so thanks, Jim. Yeah, I just wanted to thank the city as well, because in the midst of the pandemic, they were able to still gather what they can for us via Zoom. I think we were only able to do 1 or 2 meetings in person. This was, of course, before COVID happened. But Amber and the team, they put everything together, and they allowed us to get all the lessons. And it was great information about, knowing more about the city and the different businesses and what we do here in High Point, and how we as a community can actually help as leaders. So I'm thankful. Mayor Wagner actually gave the keynote last night, and Councilman Jefferson was there as well. He had to crash the party. So, thanks again to the city.
Yeah, Mike, Nina, and myself are also graduates too, so congratulations.
Thank you.
And Jessica, don't you have some news for everybody too?
Me.
Didn't you graduate from board development training?
Oh, I have not graduated yet.
Oh,
But
okay.
I'm halfway through it.
Okay.
And it is very, it's very beneficial. I'm very happy that I'm able to do it. So I appreciate the opportunity for sure. It's been great information so far. Joe Barnes is a joy of a man to be around, and we've been having a lot of fun with it, even though it's virtual. It's been pretty good. I will say, Aurel, that the class of 2017 is the best class ever.
No, Jessica, I beg to differ with you, Jessica.
2017, baby.
Well, Cheryl, he told me that 2018 was the best class ever. So
I echo Jessica. 2017, best class ever.
Oh no,
Yes,
no.
Nina. I forgot Nina.
That's right.
Nina's
but I
my
will tell y'all,
classmate.
I will tell y'all that secretly they told us that the class of 2020, because of the pandemic, is the best class ever.
No, you got it wrong. You're the longest class ever.
That is true.
The longest, not the greatest.
Oh, one more thing. Is there someone's birthday this month that we need to highlight?
I don't have everybody's birthday, so I don't really know.
Okay.
Not me.
So if it's your birthday, speak up.
Right.
Guess not.
All right. Well, again, congratulations, Aurel. We look forward to many, many great moments with you as one of our leaders of High Point. So again, congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
All right. So our next meeting is scheduled for April 22nd. I think we've already added a couple of agenda items, but do we have any other items we want to add to that meeting for April 22nd? No? Okay. Well,
Rob, do you want me to keep the neighborhood updates on there?
yes. Hopefully there'll be more meetings to come, but absolutely. And you guys are doing a great job with those meetings. I know Aurel, Jessica are getting to a lot of those meetings. I know Jim's always there, Jessica, and Clodagh. So yeah, just keep up the good work. And, we appreciate all that you do. So thank you very much.
These meetings get moved to 7 o'clock.
Jim, I don't know if you remember, but we had a meeting, it wasn't last meeting, I think it was the meeting before, where we talked about this meeting, because we are doing it virtually, gets tied in with the planning meeting.
Oh,
And the planning meeting starts at 6 o'clock, and sometimes they go over. And so we agreed to move, as long as we're doing it virtually, we agreed to move it back to 7 o'clock to give the communications people time to make the adjustment, between meetings. And so that's why we are at 7 o'clock versus 6:30. But whenever we decide to go back to do meetings in person, then we can go back to the 6 o'clock meeting.
okay.
But I think that will be for a little bit.
All right. Well, we've had a pretty great night this evening, folks. If all hearts and minds are clear, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, so we'll just go ahead and do a quick poll. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You guys have a great evening, and we will be talking soon.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
Thanks.